Oké, samen met Max, die staat hier. Samen met Pien, die staat hier. Samen met Jimmy, die staat hier.
Patrick,
bent u bij de PAN. En dat is, PAN is een ongelooflijk leuke beurs. Het is de nationale kunstbeurs. Ik ben daar de directeur van. Maar ik vind het ontzettend leuk samen met Pien om hele leuke dingen te doen. En samen met Jimmy en samen met Max. Het leuke van de kunstbeurs in Amsterdam, deze pandbeurs, is dat u alles wat heeft. Dus u heeft decoratieve kunsten, u heeft contemporary art, u heeft fotografie, u heeft een jonge kunsthandelaar, een wat oudere kunsthandelaar. En al die kunsthandelaren zijn ongelooflijk engaged om met jullie een gesprek aan te gaan om iets te leren en waarom ze zo gepassioneerd zijn. Pien is een geweldige kunsthandelaar, die heeft is al in geslaagd om iets aan mij te verkopen, iets heel kleins, maar dat was iets van hem. Het is goed voor een hele belangrijke fotograaf. Het is spectaculair wat hij doet. Hij heeft een boek gemaakt dat ik mee naar huis heb genomen, dit bij mij in Londen op de tafel. Als mensen binnenkomen, gaan ze onmiddellijk kijken. Hij gaat weer een nieuw boek maken. Voor u samen met Max en met Pien, dat kunt u weer laten zien. Maar ik ben ontzettend blij dat u komt. U bent ook lekker jong, dat willen we graag. Ja, jonge mensen hier. Ja? En, het is vreselijk jong, maar je bent niet jong genoeg om te leren. Of oud genoeg om te leren. Whatever you want. Ik geef nu het woord aan.
Eerst aan Max nog, denk ik.
Max, samen met Max.
Nee, voor mij hoeft het niet.
Oké, en Jimmy.
We gaan jou leunen. Je gaat alles vertellen.
Enjoy. Dit is werkelijk dit is een geweldige vrouw. Even een keer. Ciao.
Ja, mag jij, Jimmy?
Mag ik?
Ja, graag.
Mag ik een glasje water?
Een glasje water.
Voordat ik begin, ik woon al best wel een tijd in Nederland. En als ik op reis ben, dat is het grootste deel van mijn leven, zeg ik tegen iedereen om me heen dat ik ben Nederlander. Ik ben zo Nederlands geworden, inmiddels heb ik een Nederlands paspoort. Maar ik wil een verhaal daarover vertellen. Maar mag ik het in Engels doen?
Ja.
For me, this is what it's all about, but it took me a long time to get there. With all this sort of stuff happening with Brexit, and I keep getting my passport stolen, or maybe if I'm losing it, I'm not quite sure. And it's extremely complicated to get new passports these days. So I decided, well, I better become Dutch, and I've lived here 24 years. So, and then somebody came up to me and said, well, you know, it's quite difficult because you've got to speak it properly. Nou, ik doe echt mijn best. Ja, maar then you've got to write, oh ja, nu heb ik echt een probleem. And you've got some inburgeringscursuses and all this sort of thing. And I said, oh Jesus, nou waar ga ik de tijd van vinden? So I thought, well, ik moet gewoon ergens beginnen. So it was about 4 months ago and I went to the gemeente in Amsterdam. And I thought, I'll be very efficient to come very early, you know, maybe that helps. And I sort of walked in, I sort of pulled out my first number, sort of 001, and I stood there and I went in and I was very early and there was one bar and ging open. And I walked in, there was a very beautiful woman. I'm going to use you as the example. It was a very beautiful woman and she was extremely black. I mean with all the respect in the world. And she was dressed like a queen and she was sitting behind the bar. And she said, goedemorgen. And I sort of walked in and said, hi, ja, ik ben Jimmy en ik heb een soort klein probleem. Ik wil heel graag een paspoort. Ja, maar dat is een heel ingewikkeld proces, meneer. And I said, I know, maar ik woon hier al heel lang in Nederland. Ja, maar dat kan niet schelen. Je moet helemaal opnieuw beginnen. En I said, oh, ik heb echt een paspoort nodig. Hoe kunnen we dat doen? Ze zei, volgens mij herken ik jou. En hij zei, ja, ben jij die kale man met die kamer, die ronde wielrijder en al die mooie zwarte mensen mooi en trots maakt? En hij zei, well, yeah, maybe that's me. En ze zei, wat heb je nodig? En hij zei, ik heb een paspoort nu nodig, ik moet op reis, ik heb geen paspoort, maar ik moet al die inburgeringscursus doen, ik snap er niks van. En ik heb geen tijd om te leren schrijven. Ze zegt, maar loop maar met me mee. Het is heel vroeg. We gingen naar achter, ze heeft al die formulier uitgehaald. Ding, ding, ik heb allemaal gestemd. Zeg maar aan niemand, geef maar over hier en over een week heb je een paspoort. And that's a true story. And I thought that was so beautiful. And dat is echt waar. And I said, isn't that beautiful, that sort of serendipity of time? You spend the whole of your life going on a journey of essentially discovery. And that journey for me is, I've used other people to essentially discover myself. I don't think I'm quite there yet, and maybe I will never get there. We were talking a few minutes ago about the Ganges. And I always make jokes about, you know, until the day they throw my ashes in the Ganges, that's perhaps when the real journey begins. I thought that was so beautiful that I walked into an office, a complete strange woman helped me achieve something because she saw me for who I really was. And who I really am trying to be is I lost myself as a child, and I don't know whether any of you know the details at all. you want me to go into detail? Okay, so as a young kid, I grew up in Africa. I describe myself a little bit like Mowgli. My dad was a very strange autistic geologist. We lived in the bush. I was naked until I was 7. Then they said, well, you've got to go to Engels kostschool. Daar moet je leren schrijven en lezen. And I said, ja, maar ik vind het hier leuk. Nou, en moet je nu naar Engeland met al die priesters? So they sort of sent me there when I was 7 and put on a very tight pair of shorts. And all 400 priests thought that was very tasty. So they sort of did what priests did in the early 1970s. And that wasn't very cool. And then they said, well, not only are we going to use and abuse you, we're going to tell you you're stupid because you're creative and creativity is redundant. I said, ja, maar ik kan heel goed tekenen, zingen en dansen. Ja, maar dat is allemaal onzin. Je moet leren schrijven en lezen. En ik kan nog niet leren schrijven en lezen. So you're a waste of time. So we're going to bully you because you like colored people and you're naked. We're going to sexually abuse you and then we're going to call you stupid. En then, so I was at mijn beginnende jeugd was toen was ik een beetje in de war en ik probeerde met mijn Engelse ouders te communiceren. They only wanted to talk about the weather and have another cucumber sandwich. And that was a bit of a waste of time. Daarom woon ik nu hier. And then when I was 16, I came back from West Africa where I visited my parents for my twice a year, 2-weekly holiday. And I got cerebral malaria. I was ill. I walked back. I actually wanted my parents to keep me. And I said, isn't it time? You actually sort of held me and said, you love me. And I said, oh, let's have another cucumber sandwich and talk about the weather. I said, oh, Jesus, you know. And so I went back to this kostschool and the priest, I walked up to the priest and I said, I'm not feeling very well. So, oh, give us a hug. And I said, no, not anymore. And then they said, well, we'll give you some pills instead. And they gave me a whole pile of pills. And 12 hours later, I woke up and I looked in the mirror and I'd lost all my hair. Now, it doesn't really matter. I'm sort of 50 and half the world's bald when they're 50, so my kids say, shut up about that story, Dad. But when you're 16 and you're not very happy about yourself, you're not very happy about how you feel, and people haven't been cool to you, and then you end up looking in the mirror and you feel ugly, it's quite a sort of a beginning journey. So I ran away, I took an old camera and I disappeared to Tibet for 2 years, dressed as a monk following Kaifje. I remember reading Kaifje under my bed at night, hiding from the priests, and going on all these adventures around the world. And Kaifje in Tibet. En ik dacht, daar ga ik naartoe. So I bought a one-way ticket. I said to everybody around me, not that they really cared anyway, and I disappeared dressed as a monk, and I lived in Tibet in 1985 to 1987. And I had the adventure of my life. And I think, to cut a very long story short, for the first time, people started to love me. They started to hold me, they started to protect me. We went on wild adventures, running away from all the Chinese who were taking over Tibet. I lived with monks in monasteries. I became a warrior on a horse with the compass. And for 2 years, I had the time of my life. And I had 4 rolls of Kodacolor gold film with me. And I took a few happy snaps of the people who were nice to me. And I remember literally sitting down and saying, I have to remember you forever because you were so kind. And I took that picture, took it home, showed it to a few people. I said, wow, this is Tibet. It's been shut for 30 years. We better publish these. We're going to call you a photographer. I thought, well, that sounds good. Yeah. So I was 19. I got enough money to buy another ticket. And then I disappeared off to Afghanistan for a year because I thought I'd go and join the Mujahideen. But there's another technical problem. I arrived at the border. And I said, I'm going to put on a disguise. And they said, yeah, but where's your beard? And I went, oh, no, there's no beard there. But I did live there for a year with this sort of turban on and sort of fake beards painted on my face. And that's how this journey started. I said, well, I was essentially running away. But I wasn't a photographer. I still don't feel I'm a photographer today. I use a camera as a medium to be truly honest, keep finding myself. This unending journey of who am I and going to the extremes to find others. By default, 3 years ago I published a book. The book started to sell. What's beautiful about the story is I went to all the world's uitgevers and they all said, dit is allemaal een lode onzin. Niemand is geïnteresseerd in stammen. And they really rejected all of me. And I was, oh Jesus, you know, went back to one, he said, well, we'll make a couple of copies for your grandmother. And that book has now sold in the last 3 years more than 230,000 copies.
Wow.
So he started a new journey. He said, oh wow, you know, other people are interested in what I'm interested in. And then you start showing these pictures and they come up and I'm going to use you again because you're nice. And then they start saying, Jimmy, you know, who are you? And I said, well, I don't really know, I'm just Jimmy. And they said, yeah, but you've made this book, you must have something to say. And I said, well, I don't know whether I have anything to say, I just think they're beautiful. And then he said, but are you an anthropologist? And I said, well, no. Are you an ethnologist? And I said, what have you studied? And I said, well, not a lot really. I don't even think my driving license is for real either. So who the hell are you to say that these people are important? Who the hell are you to make these pictures? And you know what? It's all Photoshop. It's not real. And then you start getting a bit uncomfortable, and you go back to that process of what happened as a child with people pushing you around. And then you decide, no, you're not going to push me around. I'm going to answer you what this is all about. So I'm now making a new book. I've been busy making it for the last 2.5 years, and I'm going to 35 more tribes around the world and returning to many of the ones that were in the first book. But I'm taking the BBC with me, I'm taking other people with me, we're filming it with 360 cameras. I would love you, please, after this, to go downstairs by the Inkhang. It's amazing. The whole idea was that I don't have answers to the questions of who these people are, but I want you to come with me. I'm not expecting you to become this eccentric, this sort of Mr. Bean like I am with this tripod running around the world crying in front of everybody. But I desperately want to share with you what I'm doing and why I'm doing with it. I don't have the answers, but I know as all of us as a conglomerate, we can start asking these questions. These people are magnificent, these places are magnificent, these cultures are extraordinary, and it's wealth. But it's a very different wealth than we understand. Edward Curtis, does anybody know who Edward Curtis is? An American photographer 100 years ago. He spent 30 years, no, you must be dead. 30 years ago, he spent, he spent 30 years of his life photographing the Native American Indian. And he did it, I'm copying him, I really am copying him completely. And he did it like this, he put them on a pedestal and he said, you're the most amazing people on the planet. And he looked at them and he recorded their dances, them sitting on their horses. And when he died bankrupt and impoverished, and 95% of his books, 30 books, a series of 30 that he made, were destroyed and burned because the American says this is primitive, this is backward, this is going back, we're going forwards. In the 1970s, the 5% that were remaining were pulled out of a basement, and the contemporary Americans said, oh Jesus, we thought we had no culture, and look at who we've become. And I'm going to get a bit melodramatic now. If you look at America today, it was meant to be, it is supposedly, it sells itself as the most advanced culture on the planet. In my opinion, it's eating itself. And I really believe that because you don't have those sort of deep cultural foundations and respects. The human beings there are disrespecting themselves by 50% of the country becoming obese and disrespecting each other by shooting each other to hell. That's really melodramatic. These people have something. They have a wealth, they have a balance, they have a foundation, they have a true richness of being as human beings. What they have is extremely important to us, and I'm convinced as human beings on this planet that we have to readdress a balance. So that journey, my journey of being, excuse my language, fucking out of balance as a child, that hunt for who am I to like myself when I looked in the mirror, is what we should be doing as human beings by me taking these pictures. So these pictures are a catalyst for something much bigger, which everybody, for one reason or the other, has become curious about. It's not about photography. It's just a piece of paper behind the glass. It's what they stand for. These people are proud. These people are amazing. And we have to understand them. And that's what this whole idea of this new book is. We're making these virtual reality films. So the idea is you buy the book, you sit on the couch, but if you're really interested in who they are, there will be an app. And with that app, it'll be on your smartphone. And you can swipe over the picture. There'll be hundreds and hundreds of pictures in the book, even more beautiful than ever before. And that picture will come alive on your smartphone. There'll be a pair of glasses in the book, and you can put your smartphone in the glasses, and then you go on a journey, this 360-degree journey of being there. You see what I do when I'm there. You see that I spend half my life on my knees crying, going, you're amazing, you're amazing, you're amazing. Then you see them, you see the conversations I have with them, you see how extraordinary they are. And then hopefully that's a catalyst for something even bigger. We've set up a foundation, and the whole idea is I'm desperate for young people who were like I was when I was a kid, a bit lost but curious. I knew I was intelligent but with a completely different head, to go off into the world and teach these people how to film and photograph themselves. And then gather all those films, and we're going to make this digital fireplace. So it's a little bit like sort of Google for tribes, because who they are, how they look, how they sing, how they dance has to be recorded, not only for us, but for them. Most of them now have telephones. In the very near future, they will have smartphones. And when all their grandchildren have grown up, they will be online like we are. And there's nothing better for the world for them to know who they were, to still hold on to elements of that, and for us to carry on learning from them.
Wow.
I'm standing, I'm exhausted. This week I've been in a country every single day of the week, and I'm accused I sometimes claim I have jet lag, and my staff in my office tell me, no Jimmy, you have chat lag. So I'm going to pause for a minute, but I'm very happy to answer questions. I have very few answers, but I'm very happy to answer anything that you would like to ask me. Why are you standing next to me? I think you must. So that's what this is about. It's not. It's and what is art? I mean, art is a. The other day I was in a gallery, and a guy came up to me and he bought a picture. And he said, "I'm a little bit pissed with you." And I said, "Well, why?" And he said, "For 40 years I've collected art, but I've never bought a picture before. I don't believe in it. It's just paper." And he said, "But I heard you talk, and I understand. I want to buy into what you're talking about. I want to help you carry on doing what you're doing. I'm not buying something just to put on the wall. I'm buying a catalyst for a thought. That's what it's about." And he said, "You have a problem, Jimmy." And I said, "What?" And I said, "Well, I have loads. I could tell you later." I said, "One of the things, you're not taking yourself seriously. What you're making is art. Because art is a catalyst for thought. It's meant to make you think. It's meant to make you look beyond. So I make pictures with my heart and my soul, an obsession. You have no idea the effort that I put into them. The pictures are of something extraordinary, the ultimate art. And then now I'm going to try and communicate it with the world with technology that goes, light goes beyond. So all those three things combined makes me say I'm very proud to be standing Beneda by the entrance with the virtual reality. So please go and look at it. It's an amazing experience.
It is, yeah.
Wow. Any questions?
Take a sip of water.
Heb je jou nog nodig? Yeah!